Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive. Today we're diving into Michel Serres' Atlas.
Okay.
And this is not your typical map book.
No.
If you're thinking like National Geographic, it's not like that.
Not at all.
It's a journey through how we understand knowledge itself.
Yeah, you see, Atlas isn't about countries and continents.
Right.
It's about the maps we make in our own minds.
Okay.
The maps we use to make sense of the world.
Interesting.
And Serres takes us on a wild ride, using snippets of literature, philosophy, even science and history, all these things woven together.
So it's kind of like a different kind of map.
Exactly. He's created this whole new kind of map.
Okay. And he starts with something we all think we understand. Place.
Right.
But then you read his examples and it's like, whoa, I've never thought about it like that before.
Yeah.
Like that house he describes from Maupassant.
Yes.
Every detail is so vivid you can practically feel the floorboards.
Exactly. That's from Serres.
Okay.
And Serres uses it to highlight this contrast.
Okay.
You've got this incredible detailed, almost claustrophobic description of this house.
Right.
And then right outside, there's this immense, ever-changing sea.
Oh, wow.
So he's playing with this idea of what's fixed and what's constantly in flux.
It reminds me of how we try to create order in our lives, you know?
Yeah.
It's like we want that solid ground, that clear sense of place.
Absolutely.
But there's always this element of chaos lurking just beyond our control.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And then he takes us to those meticulously planned gardens
Okay.
that seem to blend seamlessly into the surrounding landscape.
Yeah.
He's playing with this idea of boundaries again.
Right.
Asking us to question, like, where does one thing end
Okay.
and another begin?
So he's not just talking about physical places then, is he?
No, not at all.
It's like he's using these examples to get at something much deeper.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
And this is where Serres introduces this concept of the lieu.
The lieu. Okay.
Which is more than just a location.
Okay.
It's a point where relationships converge.
Mm.
It's a nexus of connections.
So, like, could you say it's like a bustling marketplace?
Exactly. Think of a marketplace.
Okay.
Where people and goods and stories all intersect.
Right.
Yeah, and it's not just about the physical space itself.
I see.
It's about what happens there.
The energy that flows through it.
Exactly. And for Serres, every lieu, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, contains echoes of both the local and the global.
Interesting.
It's like that eerie story of a Horla, also by Maupassant.
Oh, the Horla. That one always gives me chills.
Right. That unseen presence that seems to haunt the house.
Yeah.
But also comes from some unknown elsewhere.
It's like you're never truly alone.
Yeah.
Never completely safe.
And that's what makes the concept of the lieu so powerful for Serres.
Okay.
It reminds us that even our most intimate spaces are connected to a much larger web of relations.
Wow. It is a bit unsettling, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
That feeling that our understanding of place is constantly evolving, always being challenged.
It is.
Makes you think twice about the spaces we inhabit.
Definitely.
And how they shape our understanding of the world.
For sure.
But I have a feeling this is just the tip of the iceberg with Serres, right?
Oh yeah, just getting started.
He's just getting started. It's like we've stepped onto the first page of a really, really long book, and we already know it's going to be a wild ride.
And speaking of journeys, right? That's a big part of how Serres sees knowledge itself.
Yeah.
It's not just this passive thing.
Right, not just memorizing facts and figures.
Exactly. He says real learning is more about transformation.
Interesting.
Like you're setting sail for some uncharted territory, you know.
I do love how he uses all these metaphors of travel in Atlas.
He's a very visual writer.
He is. And he doesn't shy away from the dramatic either.
Oh, no.
I mean, who talks about burning their ships these days?
Right. But that's Serres for you.
That's Serres.
He wants to shake things up.
I see.
That image of the burning ship. It's his way of saying that true knowledge requires a radical break from the past.
Wow.
You have to be willing to let go.
Okay.
To let go of old ideas, old ways of seeing the world.
Right.
To really embrace something new.
It's kind of scary, though, if you really think about it.
Yeah.
Like, what if I burn my ship and then I just end up lost at sea?
Well, that's the thing about real learning, right?
Okay.
You have to be open to the unexpected. And Serres actually has this great example.
Okay.
The story of Diogenes the Cynic.
Oh, right. He's a character and a half.
Oh, totally. And the Fleck chicken.
Wait, remind me, how does that one go again?
Okay, so Plato.
Yeah.
Plato had this nice, neat definition of man as like a featherless biped.
Okay, a featherless biped, right?
And Diogenes, being the provocateur that he was,
Oh, yeah, always causing a stir.
goes and plucks a chicken
Okay.
and presents it to Plato's Academy and says, "Behold, I give you man."
He throws a real wrench in the works with that one.
Right. He totally disrupts everything.
Yeah.
And that's what Serres wants us to do with knowledge.
Okay, I see.
To constantly question, to sort of poke at things, not be afraid to get our hands a little dirty.
Don't just accept things at face value.
Exactly. And he even compares this process of discovery to those highway junctions, the échangeurs.
You mentioned échangeur earlier. What makes him such a powerful metaphor for Serres?
Well, picture yourself driving along, right?
Okay.
You're on this straight path. You think you know where you're going.
You've got your route planned out.
Exactly. And suddenly you hit this massive interchange.
Oh.
You've got all these different roads branching out in every direction.
Easy to get overwhelmed.
It can be overwhelming, but it's also full of possibilities.
Okay, I see.
Each path could lead you somewhere new, somewhere unexpected.
Yeah.
That's how Serres sees the journey of knowledge.
So embracing new knowledge might mean taking a detour from our planned route.
Yeah.
Being open to those unexpected destinations.
Exactly. It's not about sticking to some rigid plan.
Right.
It's about being open to the journey.
It's about the journey, not just the destination.
Even if it takes you in directions you never imagined.
So we've talked about knowledge as this journey, this exploration, but what happens when that journey takes us into, well, the information age? I mean, it's not just about burning ships anymore. It's like the whole world's on fire with information overload. It's like we've traded our ships for spaceships,
Right.
but we're not quite sure how to navigate in this new, like, information-saturated universe.
And Serres was writing about this,
Yeah.
long before we had smartphones and social media.
Oh,
Just bombarding us constantly.
it's crazy.
But he saw both the incredible potential
Okay.
and the very real dangers of this information explosion, right?
Yeah.
He talks about how those traditional places of knowledge,
Right.
like your libraries and museums,
Yes, those meticulously curated spaces.
exactly, have in a way been like turned inside out.
Yeah, we're not just going to the library anymore. The
Yeah.
library's coming to us,
It is.
right into our living rooms, our pockets. It's amazing. It's incredible.
But it's also, I don't know, it's completely overwhelming.
It is. And with this flood of information,
Right.
it becomes even more important to be discerning.
Yeah. To be able to filter.
To know how to separate the valuables from the noise.
Okay.
And Serres uses this great image of the pub to illustrate this.
The pub. Okay, now I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So picture a crowded, noisy pub. Right.
I'm picturing it
Everyone's talking over each other,
Right.
trying to be heard.
competing for attention.
Exactly. It's exciting.
Okay.
There's this energy, right?
Yeah.
But it's also really easy to get caught up in the moment,
Right.
to be swayed by the loudest voices.
Right, even if what they're saying is a load of rubbish.
Exactly. Even if they're not saying anything of substance. So just to be sure I'm following, are you saying that in the information age, it's like we're in this crowded pub
Yeah.
and it's easy to be distracted by the loudest voices, even if they're not really saying anything meaningful?
Exactly. And those loud voices might be,
Okay.
algorithms feeding us what they think we want to see.
Right.
Or it might be those with the most power.
Not necessarily those with the most knowledge.
Exactly. Not necessarily the wisest voices in the room.
Right, right.
And so Serres challenges us to ask, what are we sacrificing in our pursuit of knowledge?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Right. Are we sacrificing truth for speed,
Oh, okay.
depth for breadth?
I mean, it's so easy to get caught up in the rush of it all, you know?
Yeah.
To feel like we have to keep up with the latest trends, the breaking news. But what are we losing in the process? Are we actually gaining knowledge or are we just accumulating data?
That's the crucial question. And for Serres,
Yeah.
the answer lies in education,
Okay.
but not the kind of education that just fills our heads with facts.
Not just rote memorization.
Exactly. He envisions a system of education that equips us with the tools to navigate this complex information landscape.
So not just what to think,
Yeah.
but how to think.
Exactly.
That's interesting. It's like mental self-defense in the information age.
That's a great way to put it.
But how do we even begin to teach that?
Well, Serres argues that it starts with questioning,
Okay.
with being willing to challenge our own assumptions, even our own biases. He wants us to be open to the possibility that we might be wrong,
Right, to have that humility.
that our understanding of the world might be incomplete.
Okay.
And to illustrate this, he uses it's kind of a funny example, but it's also very profound.
Okay.
He uses an example from Tintin, of all things.
Wait, Tintin? Like the comic books?
Yes. Remember the story of the Yeti in Tintin in Tibet?
Oh, right, with Captain Haddock.
Yeah. So at first,
Okay.
we're led to believe that this creature is monstrous.
Right, something to be feared.
Right. But Serres flips the script.
Interesting.
He shows us that the Yeti is actually capable of incredible compassion.
Oh, wow.
And tenderness, right.
Oh.
It forces us to confront our own prejudices.
Okay.
Our knee-jerk reactions to the unknown.
So he's saying that through a children's comic book, our whole understanding of good and evil can be flipped on its head just by being open to a new perspective.
Precisely. Alice isn't about giving us the answers.
Okay.
It's about giving us the tools to ask better questions.
To think for ourselves.
To embrace the uncertainty. To be okay with not always having a map,
That's a good point. So for those of us who are just, starting our own explorations with Atlas, maybe just dipping our toes in, what would you say is the most important thing to keep in mind?
I would say, don't be afraid to get lost.
Don't be afraid to get lost. Okay.
Be open to surprise.
Be open to surprise.
Be willing to have your assumptions challenged.
Have your assumptions challenged.
And above all, remember, the journey itself is the destination.
The journey is the destination.
It's about developing that curiosity, that love of learning. That'll stay with you long after you've closed the book.
That's such a good point. I love that. It's not about memorizing the map.
Right.
It's about developing your own internal compass.
Yes.
And who knows, you might discover some uncharted territories within yourself along the way. Well, thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun.